What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to GamerFuzion. We are days away from one of the strangest releases of the year because Beast of Reincarnation is a Souls-like, and it is being made by Game Freak, the Pokemon studio. That alone would be interesting, but the closer you look at this thing, the stranger it gets because it keeps some of the genre's core ideas and then deliberately deletes others that we have all just accepted for 15 years. So today we are putting everything we know so far in one place: the release details, the combat systems, the world, and specifically what kind of Souls-like this actually is. Let us get into it. Here are the hard details first. It launches August 4th with a single worldwide unlock at midnight Greenwich time, and that quirk means anyone in the Americas is actually playing on the evening of August 3rd. It is on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC at $60 with a $70 Deluxe Edition, and it lands on Game Pass day one, though only on the Ultimate and PC tiers. The director has put the campaign at roughly 30 hours across 10 stages. Preload opens August 2nd. The setting is Japan in the year 4026, 2,000 years after a corruption called the Blight swallowed the world, leaving behind twisted creatures known as Malefacts. The lore underneath that is the interesting part. Humanity survived by transferring its souls into mechanical bodies called golems, and the game deliberately refuses to answer whether those beings are still human, with the director naming Blade Runner as his reference point. You play as Emma, an amnesiac young woman traveling with Ku, her wolf-like dog, and the pair never speak to one another, which is a deliberate design decision. The team has said that 3 decades of Pokemon taught them how to build a bond through gameplay rather than dialogue. The themes they keep returning to are warmth, trust, and loneliness. And the question hanging over all of this for anybody who plays this genre is whether Game Freak can actually pull it off. This is a studio with 3 decades of history, and almost none of it looks anything like this. The project began back in 2020 under the codename Project Bloom, built by a small core team inside the studio with significant outside support, and it is being published under the Fictions label rather than by Nintendo. The director has been refreshingly candid about the leap, joking that a dark, photorealistic action game does not really fit their vibe, while arguing that photorealism was the right vehicle for what they wanted to say. Whether a team known for creature collecting can nail the moment-to-moment feel of a parry-driven action game is the single biggest open question going into launch, and it is exactly what the previews have been probing. Combat is where this earns the Souls-like label, and the official overview lays it out clearly. Every enemy carries 2 bars, health on top, and a down gauge underneath, and filling that down gauge completely opens them up for a takedown finisher. Parrying is the center of everything. Land one cleanly and you take no damage, and critically, every parry fills a gauge called FP, which the game describes as the source of Ku's power. You spend that FP on abilities called Bloom Arts, and when you open the selection, time slows down so you can actually choose. Higanbana Roots restrains up to 3 enemies at once, Higanbana Bloom hits hard across a group, and Sakura Javelin sends Ku charging in. Mods modify how each art behaves, and Ku has a full bloom state that the interface shows granting 100% extra damage at maximum. Emma herself fights with the katana alongside bows and crossbows with different ammunition types. 2 more things stood out to me watching it. Against groups, the answer is the same toolkit. Rather than a separate crowd system, you restrain several enemies with roots and then let Ku open the attack while Emma finishes. And against the huge area bosses, the overview makes a point of showing that even their heaviest blows can be deflected with the right timing, so nothing they throw is simply unanswerable. That slow motion selection is at its most valuable there because you are meant to read the boss winding up and choose the art that answers it, whether that means exploiting a weakness, canceling the attack outright, or stacking status effects. Now, the part this audience will care about most, because this is where Beast of Reincarnation stops behaving like its peers. The director has confirmed 2 things that genuinely break with convention. First, enemies do not respawn when you rest, so clearing an area actually keeps it cleared instead of resetting every time you sit at a checkpoint. And second, dying carries no penalty whatsoever. No dropped souls or currency, no run back to your corpse to reclaim anything. You simply try again. His stated reasoning is that he does not want players grinding the same stretch out of frustration. Whether you read that as removing the tension that defines the genre or as finally cutting its most tedious habit is going to be the argument around this game for months. Structurally, this is not open world. It is about 10 stages of semi-open zones you explore freely, with Emma growing vines to grapple across gaps and build bridges, and Ku sniffing out hidden resources and chests. Returning to earlier zones is worthwhile because new vine routes open as your abilities grow. Progression runs on 2 tracks. Each zone ends in a large boss called Anushi, and defeating one lets Emma absorb its power, awakening an entirely new bloom art inside Ku, so every major fight permanently expands your toolkit. Separately, skill points gathered out in the world feed Emma's own skill tree, and the overview notes that as those skills grow, the range of your follow-up attacks broadens. There are 3 difficulty modes: normal, hard, and story, and they are swappable at any time with nothing locked away. Story mode is the notable one because rather than simply reducing enemy health, it actually widens the parry timing windows and lowers the damage you take, so you are still learning the real mechanic with more room to land it. Combined with the absent death penalty, this is shaping up to be one of the most approachable entries this genre has produced, and the director has been open about wanting players who are not strong at action games to still finish it. On the practical side, there are 2 editions. The standard is $60 and includes a brown Shiba skin for Ku along with 30,000 amber, the in-game currency. The digital deluxe at $70 adds a sword called Big Dipper, an Oni's hat for Emma, both the black and brown Shiba skins, 100,000 amber, and vegetable seedlings, which suggests some kind of farming or cooking system on the side. 2 clarifications worth making because both have been widely misreported. There is no early access on any edition. Everyone unlocks at the same moment regardless of what they bought, and the Game Pass version is the base game only, so none of those cosmetic extras are included, although it does support cloud streaming and Xbox Play Anywhere, so your progress carries between console and PC. Worth noting too, the game is rated teen rather than mature, and it is strictly single player with no cooperative or online component at all. And here is what remains genuinely unanswered because plenty of pages are filling these gaps with guesswork. Console performance modes have not been detailed anywhere official, so whether there is a 60 frames option on PlayStation 5 or Xbox is unconfirmed. A photo mode has never been announced. A new game plus mode is reported to exist, but that comes from community sources rather than the developers, so treat it as likely rather than confirmed. And on PC, while the minimum specification is a GTX 1070, note that the minimum already assumes upscaling is enabled, and there is still no Steam Deck compatibility rating. One more thing worth flagging: the review embargo lifts at the exact moment the game unlocks, so no scores will exist before anybody can buy it. As for how it is actually shaping up, the hands-on previews have been broadly positive, with Game Rant going as far as calling it Game Freak's generational leap. The concerns that surfaced most often were an early story that some found a little cliche and fairly thin tutorialization, so those are the areas worth watching. But nobody has played the full thing yet, and with reviews landing only at unlock, previews are all anyone has to go on. The director also left one cryptic tease telling players not to look up at the game's sky, and he would not explain further. So that is everything we know so far. What is the one thing you still want answered before August 4th? Let us know down in the comments, subscribe for our launch coverage, and I will catch you in the next one.